adult till you're 18. Do you want me to be your daddy for the next 8 years, son? Huh?
Yes, sir.
You do? Why you want me to be your daddy?
I have no daddy.
You have no daddy? Well, let me tell you something. Come here, give me a hug.
Matter? No, you did. I saw your panic.
You have it. You're set.
So you still wear that like that because your hair?
Well, today's not hair. My hair is pretty messy already today. But because it has to be here, we'll watch this. I still have to move it because it has to be right there. Andrew and I are going to do something new on Wednesday.
Okay.
We're going to try a new mic.
You want
Nice.
you want to come? You can't.
No,
come
I
on.
know.
Can't come on camera to show people
Well,
what we're talking about.
look at this camera's on, but it's blurry. That doesn't help.
She could come on my camera. She's closer to me.
Oh, she's over here.
So it has to. It's very sensitive. I have to speak into it right here, and it can't move.
Hear.
Oh, and the guests can't hear me.
Oh, and the guests can't hear.
No,
But the crowd can hear you, right?
the crowd can hear me.
The audience.
Yes,
So she can talk
I like the
shit
crowd.
about the guests.
Yeah,
and
right.
You won't know.
Okay. All right. Well, you wear it however is it comfortable for you to wear.
We're gonna get a new one. It's gonna be great.
Okay.
I'll just tape it.
We're gonna just tape it to yes,
Why can't you just get a microphone and put it right there?
instead of something like this.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask Andrew.
Am I wrong about that?
Well, it might pick up you instead.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a special guest with us. Ryan Christensen is an independent journalist known for his commitment to transparency and truth. Isn't that nice? He's a winner of the Serena Shim Award for uncompromising integrity in journalism. Nice. I'm also a recipient of that award. He contributes political and social commentary to The Last American Vagabond. What do you mean you contribute? I thought you were The Last American Vagabond, where he provides an alternative voice to the compromised and the co-opted corporate media. Welcome back to the show, Ryan Christian.
Thanks, brother. Good to see you again.
So you are The Last American Vagabond, right?
Yeah, I'm founder and editor of the platform. That's me. I mean, really, it's the name of the platform, but it's it's meant to be sort of like we're all the last American vagabond kind of idea, But yes, that's mine.
Now, you did an interesting segment on this that I wanted to talk to you about. Maha Action tweeted out, RFK Jr. says we're developing a universal at NIH, which is that addresses the entire phylum of viruses. Whoever knew that word phylum. It's a mimics natural. So the problem is they deleted this tweet, right? Because here, you want to hear him say it? Here,
we're developing a universal NIH, which is a thing that addresses the entire phylum of viruses. And so it's a it mimics natural immunity, and it.
But
wait a minute. Hang on.
And it is effective against any kind of mutation, so it doesn't drive the virus to mutate. And it could be effective. We believe it's going to be effective against not only coronaviruses but also flu.
Really?
And it's going to be a much safer, and much more effective.
Yeah. Now they deleted that tweet with that video, and Grok was asked, why did Secretary Kennedy delete his tweet about developing a universal? And it says, it appears he did delete his Twitter post about developing a universal. Search of his timeline shows no such content, despite videos and reports from his August 8th Alaska event discussing an NIH-led natural immunity mimicking COVID and flu. So I just want, so you're on this story. Here's HHS NIH generation universal platform for pandemic-prone viruses. So What the hell is going on with this? First of all, what is this universal, and why did they delete it, you think?
Well, the platform is continuing. You can look it up on HHS. I'm not exactly sure why he chose to delete the tweet. I think it's because he got there was more than one, by the way. One was on the Maha, then one was something that RFK himself posted. And the point is that he got a lot of pushback from largely people in the Maha movement. But what's important is to look at these. There's two separate stories here. One of them is the shift into the universal platform direction under the guise of we're ending mRNA, which is not happening. And I want to talk about that too. This is simply staying with the universal platform. I'm very skeptical about this in general. I'm not an expert in this topic, but you and I both have been diving into this research since this entire thing has started. And we both interviewed plenty of doctors, but many I speak to are very adamant about this not being the right direction. The wholesale, which is like the old style, was the one that was rife with all the issues about the concerns and the statements of people being sick after taking them. They deny that, but there's a lot of denial around a lot of these things, and there's a lot of issues that came from that. Now maybe they're going to do it better. My gut tells me that this is actually sort of the part of the head fake. I do think this is probably going to happen. I doubt that it'll end up being, think about how unlikely it is that you're going to make something that you make one shot that essentially can apply kind of universally to everything kind of forever, that they update. I don't know how that ends up not being some sort of overlapping mRNA technology. It doesn't appear to be, but my thought is that this is sort of a deviation from where I actually think the direction is going. And now this starts with the $500 million contract discussion where RFK Jr. said we're ending all these contracts. Now on that point alone, my research shows us today only a few of those you can even prove have actually been canceled, and they were ones that were already being canceled before he made that announcement. There's no main list of all those 22 contracts. I'm skeptical even those are being canceled, but just for the conversation, let's assume those are all being canceled. My important point is that HHS released a document that everybody basically selectively quoted. What it said was very clearly that they were ending these contracts and then winding down the direction for mRNA shots, but made clear that Arcturus and Amplitude Therapeutics would be allowed to continue the projects they already were, claiming there wouldn't be new ones. But if you look, the ones that they're both working on are all self-amplifying shots, bird flu, COVID-19, and all mRNA. So those are continuing. That's clear. Secondarily, on the post, it says right underneath this paragraph, everyone quoted, we will also still be continuing all other forms of mRNA. Food related, everything else. So my thought was like, okay, this feels very sort of like we're ending gain of function, but you read it and it was like, they're totally not ending gain of function. They're in fact just focusing on the versions that they think they're going to be the world leaders in. That's exactly what it said. We're paraphrasing. So I think this is what it's really about, the self-amplifying shift into this direction. But you broaden out this picture, you can continue to see a lot of this over focus on specifically that. And on top of that, I found new contracts even today for things that are called let me make sure I get the actual phrase right. It's called a trans amplified mRNA, which basically is a self-amplifying, but with two different versions of the things amplifying. This is the direction it's going. All of these are in the works. There's multiple studies in this direction.
So,
go ahead.
So you're saying it was a real miss. So I reported on that story that RFK killed the contracts or the funding for the $500 million for the mRNA platform, that he killed it. And
well, not Stargate though. Stargate, as far as I can tell, is still functioning.
What is
now,
Stargate?
That's about AI-directed mRNA drugs, and I think they're trying to make a very fine line about what the difference is by saying that self-amplifying is not the same thing, or that somehow the AI-directed versions are not the same thing because it's not the same COVID shot. I will have to wait and see how it pans out. But we've seen a lot from the U.S. government, but this administration in particular, doing just that kind of thing, like a head fake, But the platform itself is one thing, and then the cancellations, these are different stories, but I think it's all part of the same objective. And again, I don't think all those 22 contracts have been canceled. And clearly, there's plenty of them that are continuing. And on top of that, the $500 million that they canceled for that direction, that was $500 million that was already earmarked for specifically COVID-19 shots, and they're just pivoting it into the same shots. It's the same direction, but self-amplifying. And you can prove that they're continuing. Now, the Stargate point is very important, I think, because that goes into a whole new realm of what we're talking about. The AI directed actually was one CEPI is working on. And that's, as far as I can tell, still supported by the Trump administration. There hasn't been funding this year, but I get the sense that it's going to continue in the same way. And that's kind of the way they work this. It's sort of a, like the last Trump administration feigning to stop funding Gavi, or rather Bill Gates, or the WHO, excuse me, but then ultimately funded Gavi, which is the chief funder of the WHO. So it was sort of like a shifting of money. And I think that's how this tends to operate on both sides of the paradigm.
So what does the universal vax have to do with this?
Well, that's something that they're claiming they're going forward on, and it came out at the same kind of time frame. So I think it is a project that's going to go forward, and I'm sure that you can make money off these things like anything else. And I'm also skeptical of just anything in this category, like everyone seems to be today. My gut tells me that it's really sort of a, we're giving you an old version that will appease some of the people that are only focused on mRNA. A lot of the MAHA people really weren't unhappy with any of these things, but I think from my research and the money, they're leaning heavily into self-amplifying shots and everything beyond that. All the future tech kind of, vaccination, great reset overlap kind of things that, even overlapping with like nanotechnology. Like I've talked about the ferritin nanoparticle shots that they're currently working on. The Guardian did a report about this in I think 2016, called it the Magneto shot. The Rockefeller Institute did a study that proved using these, you could literally control the movements of mice. Now it's a whole different topic, but these things are being studied. That's the reality, and that they're already working on certain versions of this. So I think that's the direction.
I thought mRNA were self-amplifying. What is the difference between an mRNA and a self-amplifying?
It's a good question. Now, when I first was researching the Pfizer shots in the beginning, and all of them really, I think it was BN2. I always forget the two main shots, BNT2B21 or something like that. They were the two main ones they had. The one that they ultimately leaned into the most. On the original Pfizer documentation that I still have, you can see that it was originally listed as self-amplifying. And let's not forget, and let me explain it first then, since that's what you asked. One is what we're told the COVID shots are. It produces a spike protein and it stops. We all know that's not true. It continues to produce spike protein, as almost even the largest body of evidence from scientific research now shows that. And even the experts admitted this, right? Dr. Luigi Warren, for example. So my point is that they claimed it was one, that's supposed to be the mRNA shot. The self-amplifying shot produces more of them. That's what these are, whether by accident or by design. And so really that's what we're already seeing. And so this is really, if you take it at face value, just the continuation of what they were doing. And we were lied to then and we're being lied to now. And so I think that's kind of the real obvious shift, because, it gets into the conspiratorial side of it, but I think your audience is well understanding about a lot of the stuff that happened during COVID-19. And I wonder what that's really about. What's the point of lying to us about that then and now? And while planning us with something else, in my opinion, that's meant to kind of deviate from what's happening.
So let me see this. So new study. Oh no, that's different. Oh, that's another story.
No, that's relevant. That's Dr. Peter McCullough and his foundation. Well, that's from him talking about the specific. Now, this is one of the ones that is working, right? There's the Arcturus and others. This study they did, I think it was in Uganda. It was 93% of the people that took the self-amplifying shots had blood irregularities and all sorts of different problems. So it's about a study about self-amplifying, which is what they're leaning into. So that's why that's relevant.
So you keep mentioning Arcturus and another name. What are those two names you're mentioning?
Arcturus is a company, and I could be mispronouncing it, but that's how it looks like it's spelled to me. And then Amplitude Therapeutics. Those are the two that in the HHS release, they explicitly named as being ones that they would continue under the guise that, or the claim that the money was already invested, therefore we didn't want to waste taxpayer dollars. But they've already done that, for example, with the Moderna shot that was funded in Biden's administration and canceled it recently. So the logic doesn't line up for me. I think it's about the fact that that's what they're leaning into, as all of the evidence suggests. But those are the two companies that they seem to be kind of showing you, and I can prove to you both of them are working on mRNA, COVID, and flu shots, and both of them self-amplifying.
So Peter McCullough, by the way, who's one of the most cited doctors in the world, new study COVID-19 replicon SAM. What's SAM RNA? So
there's two ways to write it, both saRNA, self-amplifying mRNA, or saRNA. They're both the same thing.
Oh, so self-amplifying mRNA injections induce severe blood abnormalities in 93% of trial participants. And so this is what they're leaning into right now at the HHS under RFK?
Yeah, well, my opinion is that that's the direction they're aggressively leaning into. But the evidence, the facts are that those are the ones that they are continuing. So it's clear that all the ones that you can see that when they're claiming they're shifting away from mRNA in general, the only ones they're going forward with, mRNA and self-amplifying mRNA, are all Arcturus, Amplitude, and self-amplifying. And then my point is, you can look up and find a whole bunch of other research happening that's both funded by them or supported by groups they support that are all working in this. Like Mary Talley Bowden, for example, just put out a post a while back that showed 36 different self-amplifying shots that were all in the works. And so these things are going to be popping up. And I think the problem is right now, which kind of seems to be the thing that's happening this this time in politics, that they make the statement and a lot of people cheer it and then we put it away. And it hasn't stopped. You've talked about stuff like this during COVID.
And so, well, just let me just show this. Self-amplifying RNA. In an ever-growing arms race of genetic engineering, a new and deeply concerning player has emerged, self-amplifying RNA, saRNA. Unlike conventional mRNA shots, which carry the pretense of controlled dosing, self-amplifying RNA introduces a self-replicating genetic mechanism into human cells, a mechanism that has no inherent safeguards, no patient-specific oversight, and no clear understanding of the long-term ramifications. Now, I'm pretty sure, and again, just from covering this, that the problem with the mRNA was one of the problems was at first they said, no, it just stayed in your arm. And then we found out, no, it went through your whole body. And then we found out that it keeps replicating inside your body. So what's the difference between that and self-amplifying? It seems like they just made up a new term for the same thing. Is that what it sounds like to you, Brian?
No, but see, the difference is the original shots that we were given during the COVID-19 timeframe, those were self-amplifying shots. I think you can clearly prove that. So the point is that what they were claiming, if that even exists, is that you could take an mRNA shot that only produces one spike protein and one antigen, and ultimately that is what you deal with, and it stops. Not there everywhere you look, that's not true, right? So I think this was originally the direction, and either they lied or they made a mistake. I don't know, but so that's I mean, again, it sounds like it's the same thing as the COVID because they could not. I mean, I learned this watching Dr. John Campbell that and also I had on Dr. Jay Bhattacharya say the same thing on this show, who's now the head of the NIH. He said that the problem with it was that you didn't know the dosing, right? So because you didn't know how many it was going to replicate once it got into your body, and it seems like that's what they're saying about this. To me, it seems like they're just rebranding the same thing. It certainly is one way to frame it. Right?
Oh, okay.
But we know ultimately that there's plenty. The amplifying part of it was clearly, as you mentioned, a major part of the problem, but there's so many other elements to these things that are dangerous. Like the self-amplifying part of it's clearly problematic, especially if it's the wrong thing you're being, the wrong antigen, the wrong thing they're aiming at, which we don't talk about. But so too is the mRNA platform itself, right? There's been studies, peer-reviewed and otherwise, that have clearly identified the platform and the way that it's put together that in one case is directly correlated with myocarditis. So it's like all the moving parts, but the way you frame that is the best way to look at it. The only reason I'm trying to be objective is that I don't know whether there was their intent to try to mislead you or they just made a mistake. But what you said is the best way to look at it. It's in material. There's no difference. They're self-replicating, or rather producing more and more and more of it. And now they're telling you that's the future, even though it's the same thing that hurt a lot of people during COVID-19.
So it looks like it was a bit of a deception. Or as you put it, a head fake that RFK Jr. did when they announced that we're canceling the $500 million for research into mRNA when they're just actually shifting it, right?
Right.
Into what
money, if that's
into what they're called self-amplifying RNA.
Right. Specifically, the money part first is that's what frustrates me is people act like we're saving money. All they did was move that money right back into other versions of it. But
just like Doge.
I don't know if I think. I'm sorry?
Just like Doge. They didn't really cut that money.
Exactly like Doge.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if RFK, he's such an anomaly to me right now because as I think you've talked about, his past work, which I still support, I still think is valuable, it just doesn't make sense. But so I don't know whether he's being corralled, blackmailed, manipulated. Either way, his statement about ending those, again, my earlier statement, I can't see evidence that those 22 have even ended on top of everything else. But I've heard statements from people that I can't verify. They claim that insiders have stated that, he was told to not go, he won't be able to touch mRNA. If you're in his shoes, I just don't know why you would keep going along with it. Like, they're using your name to make people feel better about this, but maybe he isn't bored. I don't know. But I think the facts are all we can engage with.
Now, is Bill Gates involved in this?
Yes. That's another very important point. I'm glad you asked that because like Arcturus and others, Bill Gates is directly involved with at least two of the shots we're pointing to, but through funding. Well, let me be as accurate as possible. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is involved with funding on two of those. Now, that doesn't mean Bill Gates personally did it, but it's really about how it would be framed. Imagine if this was Biden. What do you think the conservatives would say about that? We need to be equally critical of how these things are going. And it's just very obvious that we're being lied to about all of this. Now, the other part of it is the food side of it, or any other number of mRNA versions that they're still rolling out. I mean, Dr. Tenpenny made the point about the self-amplifying rabies shot for animals that's suddenly on the market. It's all over the place. And I really, it feels like it's coming at you from all angles.
So they're switching up the formulation from the old style to an mRNA for rabies?
Or specifically self-amplifying. But again, maybe that's all it really is. But yes, there's many of them, by the way. And I mean, if you have looked into the animal side of this, if you think it's bad with the human side of it, it's horrifying. It's less concern, less due diligence, one size fits all. It's horrible. I mean, that's why, I've talked a lot about that with way I think I think it's a horrible thing. I think your dog should avoid it like the plague. But I think a lot of that's popping up now in a lot of the different directions. Or she points out RNA pesticides they're using, which actually some have been used since 2015 that they just continue to use through both administrations and spray your food with, or animals and you've talked about the butter and the fakes, the lab grown salmon or CRISPR pig meat, or all these different things that are sprinting in the direction. I think pretty much the Maha movement was against all of this.
So what kind of pushback did he get on that universal tweet? That
I only saw comments. And at least that was some of the conversation. I can't confirm that was really what they thought, but it was just you see it when you get they posted it and it's got like 30 times more comments than anything else, and everyone beneath it is like, "What are you talking about? That's not what you promised," and and then he deleted it. So that's just the way I read it.
Well, it just seems nuts. Sure. It seems Dr. Marty McCary was supposed to be on our show last Friday, and then they canceled at the last minute because they were afraid I was going to ask him a real question. Unlike CNN or MSNBC, which is just going to ask them Pfizer-funded questions, they don't want any. They don't want a real question, right? Just like Bernie Sanders doesn't want a real question. So it's funny that everybody from HHS will go on CNBC and MSNBC and CNN and Fox, the same people who smeared RFK Jr. and all those people. Right. And
that is interesting.
They can't wait. They go on the regular. They go on those news networks, but they won't come on a news show like this. Isn't that kind of amazing? It's sad, is what it is.
It is, but the point you made there is really important to think about, right? So he watched them criticize him and lie about him, and that's where he still goes. Or anybody under his purview. That does seem like it adds more of the question marks for me. Like I don't know why, but clearly we're being misled all over the place.
Yeah, so they're definitely hiding something, and they were afraid that I was going to uncover it, or maybe I already did uncover it, and I was going to corner him on it. But either way, they ducked that interview. It was set up for weeks, and then at the last minute, they're like, "Hey, yeah, we're going to cancel." We saw a headline on one of your things that Trump betrays MAGA. Yeah, was that as bad as anything CNN has said about RFK Jr. or even his cousin?
Right.
Anyway, all right. Well, we'll keep our eye on this, and if you want to hear my jokes about the mRNA, come see me in Rutherford, New Jersey, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Chicago, Appleton, Wisconsin, Rosemont, Illinois, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Louisville. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to
No Nashville, Tennessee?
No Nashville, not yet. No.
I ask it every time. I'll try to make it.
Okay. All right. Let's take it over to Steph for a sec.
Okay, here we go. Kin's Deadly Adventures. Thank you so much. Is it Sieben Weiss? Thank you very much. Boab. Kerp Mexican or Kerp Mescaline? Inquiring minds want to know. All righty, thank you. Jimmy, that table of people, the MSNBC didn't get it wrong. That implies it was an accident. It's not like an oopsie or bad. It's all on purpose to manipulate the lefty cows and boomers with pure lies. A kid at heart. Harsh. Flint match. Today is my final day smoking weed since I am becoming an electrician. Being a stoner was fun, but it's time to become an alcoholic. Nature's calling. Flint.
Nice.
Flint in with the funny. All right, let's see this one. Just in. O2 sounds like a mycobacterium mentioned on John Campbell's show. It's a dead organism shot. People who have taken it report not having flu symptoms anymore. Thank you, Hart, for that one. Much appreciated.
Why does RFK think we? I wish I would have. Why does RFK think we need a frickin' COVID in the first place? Like, that's the craziest part, and a flu, right? We've already showed the last flu negative efficacy, and that the death rates have gone up for even elderly people since we've gotten mass flu vaccinations. Who's out there screaming for COVID and a new one, and who's out there screaming for a new one for the flu? Who's doing that? Right? Right? Nobody, right?
It seems like nobody.
Nobody.
Right? It seems like even the Democrats seem to be shifting away from this direction, at least publicly. But I think the point is clear that, he came out and said very clearly, at least insinuated many times, that pretty much all vaccination, at the very least, would be kind of paused until we could fix the system. Well, that doesn't seem to be happening, right? We're just kind of, as you're pointing out, just continuing down that path. But, even if what he said is true, then that means the system is still the same, whether he's there or not, at least for now. So, I'm with you. I don't think it's really changing that much at all.
Okay. Right, back to stuff.
All right. The judge, 51, says, Jim Dog, have Ben Davidson on to talk about the pole flip, please.
The what?
The pole flip.
I don't know what that is.
Well, then we definitely need to have
I know
Ben
what
Davidson
that is.
on.
The magnetic pole flip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it is happening.
You can show Jimmy.
But doesn't it take like 10,000 years for it to happen?
The pole flip?
The pole flip. It doesn't happen like that. It takes a while.
I'm not too versed on it.
I'm not too versed on it either.
Misha, are you versed on it?
Versant.
Not that kind of pole.
Oh my God. Oh, somebody call HR over here.
You're going to have to talk to Betsy.
Oh my
All
God.
right, I'm sorry.
Not again.
Yeah, again. All right. Let's see here.
Risha?
What?
Risha?
Oh, was that Betsy talking?
Yeah.
Just let me hear it again.
Risha?
Funny. All right, let's see here.
No pole joke.
Okay, hold on. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all your super chats and rumble rants. Let's refresh here. Let's see what we've got here on super chats. All right. How about self-amplifying sanity, Civ and Vice? Has RFK ended Big Pharma kickback to individuals that approve vax and other drugs? If not, this is long overdue. Yes, indeedy. I hear you on that one. German scientists are working on ssRNA. That's according to FJewTube in Jisrael. Hey, mad scientists in white lab coats. FJew, thank you. In a perverse throwback to Xmas story, Kerp was triple dog dared to twerk naked. Okay, unvaccinated guy. Back to Jimmy.